Today is a new day to start again. Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Yesterday doesn't matter, it only serves as a ladder. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed, so make your plans accordingly. Today is a new day to start again. Take each moment one by one and do the best you can. Grand Rising. Today is a new day to start again. It is 6/2/2025. I'd like to find something for me to do on Sunday evenings. I get off work at 4 p.m. on Sundays, and then I have 2 days off, Monday and Tuesday. But I find myself getting off work with nothing really to do Sunday evening. So that should be easy for me to figure out. I'm going to come up with something that I'm going to do. You know what? It should be probably golf related, because I am going to be working on my golf swings. So that's probably what I should do, is make a round of golf after work on Sunday. Sounds very smart. So that's what I've already figured it out. That's why I do these videos. I've got a couple songs I've been working on. Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning, and then Billy Joel, Allentown, and then Ben Holds 5, Brick. Those are my 3 songs I've been kind of toying around with a few others, and sometimes I find a song and then I forget the name. So, give an update on my cats for those that watch these. I haven't talked too much about Bodie, who is my first cat. She is a black, fairly healthy black cat that I have, and she is doing great. She knows her boundaries now. I've established that, where she can go, and she's just really chilled and affectionate. She's tolerating Sassy, who is much more talkative, much more involved in the house now. I'm enjoying them both. They seem to be doing well, as far as neither of them are going to try to kill each other, it doesn't look like. And Sassy is looking more and more happy and comfortable. So I keep waiting for something. That's kind of how the Tao works. You almost allow life to fall to you. But the stuff you do while you're waiting is really what sets your table. That's the importance of the Tao. It's not that you do nothing. It's that you do what's in front of you when there's nothing else to do. What are you supposed to? What do you have to do? And then you do that thing. So also what I've been talking about with part of my structure of this new day to start is you try to treat your moments. You treat life as a moment. And that helps you to really centralize on where you're at. And your whole life is one long moment as well, but there are moments inside the moments, is how I try to treat it. And all of them have importance. I could get really technical about it, but I start to get into like the holograms and and how one part of the hologram is the entire hologram. Same thing with your moments. Like your entire moment can be defined by a moment or the entire moment. It really just depends on your decisions and your free will. So what I've been trying to do now recently is, because I finished my daughter's graduation and now I'm back, I need to define my new moment that I'm in. And I think it's important to do that. Otherwise, you're just not doing anything. And you can do that for a while too, but eventually, if you follow the Tao, something's going to make you do something. You can't just sit there forever unless you are Buddha. So the Pacers are in the finals. That's obviously out there. I don't want to define my life around that, but I do. It's pretty important to me. So I'm going to be watching the Pacers finals. It's a theme for sure. I have been doing yoga, but I missed yoga last week, so I'm getting back into yoga again after a very successful run. I want to make sure I keep that going. And then I did think about, I could take this time to write a short story, which is what I've been talking about doing, so I can define myself into a moment of writing a short story. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that today or tomorrow. I keep waiting for something, and that's where I'm at. So you identify the moment is really what I wanted to close with on this. When I played golf when I was young, I did a lot of damage. I did not respect. I don't want to elaborate much more than every day I grow older, I look back in dismay at my youth. And there's nothing really, I don't even identify with that person anymore. I still carry the reputation, but I can say squarely, I did not treat my youth with respect. I have a lot to do to overcome how well I mean, I did a lot of good too. I'm just, with great awareness becomes, the responsibility of, so I'm self-aware. I gained so much understanding while I was on the golf course. So I was really beating myself up about this and how much I've been given in my life and how little respect I had when I was younger for what I'd been given. And then I started to remember how bad it was for me on the golf course whenever I was in a golf tournament that was structured, that I couldn't just pick my ball up and I'd be on hole 13 after 3 double bogeys in a row because I couldn't keep the golf ball on the golf course, and I was so frustrated and I just couldn't find my way through. And you still have 5 more holes to play, and no matter what you do, you're still going to have your name up on this board and they're going to write the numbers in front of everybody, and you're going to have to just either stand there and listen to everybody go, oh, and then they stop watching because it's just so bad. That's how it can be in golf too, is that sometimes it just is what it is. So I've thought about it, and I really did endure some horrible rounds of golf where I just had to just eat horribleness as the son of a golf pro, the shame of it. So I think I have paid a lot of it back now that I've reflected a little bit more this morning. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves and we're like, we should, but we do forget the other stuff, the stuff that, and I talked to another gentleman about it too. And it's interesting, like in gambling, you always remember just the bad, you remember the bad beats. You don't remember the times you got lucky. But I think it's the opposite of that when we're self-reflecting. I don't know. What do I have to give? Because I have I just disrespected, in my opinion, just life in general and the opportunity that I had. I disrespected it as a youth. So I have to pay that back. That's what I've really been wanting to do. But you can't do that all in one day. So really what I've worked on, the reason why I found out that I disrespected life so bad is because I got to the center of where I am now, and I realized how little we really have to do to respect life. And whenever you see that and you see where you were, it's not all our fault though. And it doesn't really matter either way. Once you become aware, you're responsible. If I should have never went to the core of awareness, because then I could have lived in bliss of being a bad whatever I was doing. But now I am who I am, and I have to try to logically find a way to pay my penance. So what I have found is the most beneficial for me to get to my best center, to where I'm operating to the best of my abilities. It's this minimalist mentality, this Taoist minimalist, where you really don't self-indulge at all, really, except when it's there. And then it's just because you're doing it in commonplace with everyone else. You've taken so much out of life that even when you're standing in front of the Grand Canyon, you're treating it as just another day. Same as those mundane days in the middle of a field. As you get into a Taoist mentality, that is how you operate. And some people really think that that's boring, but what it is the most ultimate type of peace. It's contentment. Find your center, breathe. Breathing is so important to focus on whenever you are in stressful anxiety. And it's just very simple, but people don't like to hear how simple things are. But then you cleanse. Cleansing is important as well, whatever method you're using to cleanse. Stretching, I've learned to really embrace that with my cats. We are a body that needs stretching and balance. And then when you get to the center, the owl says, hoo, hoo, the great owl. I don't know why I put that in there. I have an owl I identify a lot with in my life. They are very cool. So I'm not going to worry. Worry is the biggest death of happiness. Don't worry. So I'm going to dedicate as a disciple. I'm going to practice. Let's keep this short. The short game in golf is the most important part of golf. I'm at 11 minutes. What should I dedicate my moment to? My current moment. I'm going to call it Summer of Love. I like 2025 Summer of Love. June is a good start for that. I'm going to embrace my love of golf because I do love golf. I'm going to start to dedicate myself. My shoulder is better. I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to do some good stretching today. I'm going to have a nice cleanse session with the bath and the hot shower and the cold shower. I've been trying to work in the cold shower into the hotness of the bath and then using the sauna. If you let your body do that kind of stuff. And then I really do think there's something to the golf and yoga thing. So I'm going to try to start working on incorporating those together. I have a whole concept that I'm going to try to bring to myself first and then bring to the people that I love. And I love singing, so I'm going to do some singing. And I love writing, so I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to end with a Jimbo story because I want to settle on this practice. Practice is, and it's so funny with Allen Iverson. And then I've done this in previous videos, Allen Iverson and AI. But anyways, he has this practice line. The thing about practice is you never stop practicing. But I was a really cocky young kid, and I was trying to make the basketball team in junior high. And I really just wasn't, I was a goofball. And while I didn't make the team. And then they offered me a manager position, and I initially took it, and my dad told me, we're not going to be a manager. And then he basically said, if you want to play basketball, you're going to need to learn how to play basketball. And let's take the summer to work on that. Anyways, so we just didn't have a great relationship, my dad and I, until later in my 20s, really. But so anyway, I was out practicing basketball, really in spite after that. And my dad was in eyeball of me, and I knew he was watching, but I was just basically goofing off. And then I came back home, and I remember we were sitting at dinner or something, and somehow we got into a conversation, whether he initiated it or I did. And he was basically like, I don't know what you were doing up there, but that wasn't practicing. That was ridiculous. You look like a goofball. It was kind of embarrassing. I mean, if that's what you're going to do while you're practicing, it's a joke. And he said it in a much different way, but that's how I remember it now in my voice. So then he brought me back up there, and he took the time to teach me about 4 or 5 things about my elbow, about my hand on the ball, and about that. And he basically took the time to square up with me and teach me. And then he stuck with me because I think I showed him enough promise. So he helped me become a better basketball player. In fact, we also were he interjected a couple different times into my basketball because he liked basketball. So I need to give my dad more credit sometimes of things that he was really involved with because you forget. But in the end of it, he basically was like, and it was an important lesson that when you do practice, and if you're goofing off while you're practicing, that's just stupid in so many ways. Don't do that. That's what makes people great, is the people that are practicing when you're supposed to be practicing. Because practice is the most important thing you can do. But what you do when you practice is practice what you're supposed to practice, the discipline. So when you define your moment, in between those moments, you're practicing the discipline to prepare you for those moments. So if you have something coming up that you need to do, you practice the necessary disciplinary things that you need to do during those moments, in between those moments. So those moments in between the moments are as important or more, because that's where you're building up for the shine of the moment. And if you don't, you're not going to get to enjoy it as well. So you practice. That's what you do. You practice discipline, whether you're with somebody or not. You don't need anybody to tell you that. And that's what's really found in all of it. So that's where we're at. Today is a new day to start again. So mine is the summer of love. That's my big new moment. I'm going to embrace this 2025 as the summer of love. It's a horrible definition, though. I've taken away. I can't move on with this video any longer, though, because I got stuff to do. You guys figure it out. Do great, be grateful. I like it, though. Summer of love. I like that. I haven't had a summer of love. I'm not talking romantically, but I would like that. This is a Tao thing. I'm trying to really embrace my love of golf, my love of yoga, my love of writing, my love of singing. And if that happens to bring me love, then maybe we can get something going here. Calling in my soul tribe. Have a great day. Do great. Be grateful.